It's said that in order to awaken to our full potential, we must be willing to see the ways that information is being suppressed or discredited. And nowhere is this manipulation more common than in medicine. Western medicine, albeit technologically advanced, treats the symptoms of illness with expensive pharmaceutical formulas and patented machinery, which reaps billions of dollars each year for those in the industry. There are many effective, alternative options, however, for addressing illness. But in the last century, Western medicine has effectively swept them under the rug. Among the most commonly overlooked options is a uniquely effective, non-invasive therapy that was created by a doctor named Wilhelm Reich. Using simple materials, Reich's healing invention tapped into the life energy that ancient modalities have spoken of for centuries, and his therapy yielded remarkable results. What more, anyone could duplicate it at home. But if you search for evidence of its efficacy, you may have to dig deep to get past the character assassination of its founder, which many people believe was the dark result of Reich discovering something that could completely change our understanding of health and disease. Join the universe inside you. Create a new reality as we go deeper into understanding Wilhelm Reich's simple technology for cultivating Orgone energy. If you research the name Wilhelm Reich, you'll find more accusation of fraud than appreciation. While there's no question that he pushed against the grain with his controversial ideas, early on, Reich earned great respect as he paved his way through the field of mental and physical health. Wilhelm Reich was born in 1897 in Austria and became a very well-educated, prominent psychoanalyst in Vienna. He traveled to numerous countries for his life work and wrote several influential books. Like his predecessor, Sigmund Freud, he became fascinated with the libido, which is the energy of the sexual drive as a component of life instinct. When he was 30, Reich witnessed a violent revolt in Vienna that left many innocent people dead. It became a game-changer for him, as he expressed disgust with what he called the social noxiousness of views and institutions. He observed that psychic illness was linked to the irrationalism of social and political mores, adding that love, work, and knowledge should govern our lives, not dogmas. Reich believed neurosis was rooted in sexual and socio-economic repression. He observed that health and pleasure are the movement of biological energy towards the periphery of an organism, while anxiety is the retraction of this energy towards our center. He sought to treat neurosis by reversing the flow of energy outward, including by means of healthy sexual release. Because he promoted the availability of contraceptives, and when necessary, divorce, he was later credited with originating the sexual revolution of that era, the title of a book he published in 1936. In order to escape persecution by the Nazis, Reich immigrated to the U.S. in 1939 with hopes of fulfilling his own American dream. Sadly, this notable immigrant experienced an American nightmare. Though his work had always been held in high esteem, he was sadistically, professionally destroyed, just as he attempted to share new healing methods with the world. What happened? Could he have really just cracked? Or might his ideas have presented a threat to the existing medical industry? Dissatisfied with the headiness and what he called contrived foothold of scientific theories, Reich chose to focus on the biophysical aspects of psychological conditions. Through his research, he discovered that people with unresolved negative emotions would hold more rigidity in their muscles, blocking the natural flow of energy through the body. He referred to this tension as muscular armor, and noted that firm pressure of his thumb or deep massage into a rigid muscle would elicit a strong emotional response, accompanied by physical pain, that then appeared to stimulate the memory which initially created the tension. The more repressed the mind, the more stuck the body. As energy was released, ease and even pleasure were restored to the patient, along with an involuntary pelvic thrusting reflex that he called the orgasm reflex, which was attributed to many responses beyond an actual orgasm. The second thing Reich discovered came from observing a dying plant in water under a microscope. As the life force faded, he witnessed luminescent blue bubbles departing from the plant, and then, as if by magic, coming together again separately to form a new protozoa, a new living organism. He called this glow biome, and concluded that if energy is not lost, but simply transformed at death, it must exist everywhere, always. He was able to see and measure biome energy, which is the luminescence in this photograph taken on the moon. Though it's been dismissed as a trick of light, the glow of life energy is unmistakable. To put it simply, Wilhelm Reich rediscovered what shamans and ancient healing modalities have known for centuries. There is an energetic life force in the universe, an etheric substance that is the essence of every living thing and non-living thing. In China, it's known as Qi. In India, as Prana. In Greece, as Ether. In Polynesia, as Mana. The list goes on. Drawing a line between this self-organizing force and the biological energy that was released from muscles of his patients, Reich believed this life force to be the source of life and procreation, and he decided to name it Orgone. Reich was trained in Western medicine, but for thousands of years, healers and shamans of many cultures have been cultivating this invisible energy in order to restore health and heal disease. Among these ancient methods are acupuncture, Reiki, Qigong, reflexology, and chakra clearing, all sharing a consistent principle. Our biology is governed by invisible energy meridians, and illness occurs when areas stagnate in the body. Rather than treat the symptoms of illness, as Western medicine does, these modalities focus on opening the flow of this energy. Reich was able to detect and measure the existence of orgone with a simple device, as described in his book, The Cancer Biopathy. This device was an induction coil in a series of metal plates with a light bulb in between them. Whenever an orgone field approached the meter, the light would actually turn on. For anyone seeking something like this today, an experimental life energy meter is not unlike a battery reader and can measure the energy in people, animals, plants, even food. As Reich studied orgone, he noted that there is positive orgone energy, POE, which was organized, structured, and life-giving, and deadly orgone energy, DOE, which was anti-biological, stagnant energy that would lead to decay and entropy. He said the accumulation of DOE combined with lack of POE is what created disease, seeing how negative energy disrupts the flow of life through the body. Reich devised an invention that would direct the flow of life orgone into a patient. He called it the Orgone accumulator. Reich's invention was designed to concentrate positive energy around and into a human being. It was based on two principles. Organic material, such as wool and fiberglass, attract and hold orgone energy. And inorganic material, such as metal, attracts and then immediately repels energy in all directions. The Orgone accumulator was a box-like enclosure lined on the inside with metal, and then alternately lined with an organic material, repeating for any number of layers. The more layers, the higher the concentration of energy inside the box. Energy by the organic layers was directed inward by the metal ones. Any energy reflected outward by the metal ones was reabsorbed by the organic material and redirected into the box, causing orgone to accumulate inside. Patients would simply sit there, allowing energy to restore their health. As Hippocrates pointed out, natural forces within us are the true healers of disease. For the same reason a paper cut or bruise heals itself, the Orgone accumulator simply accelerates this process. Naturally, sitting in a box as means of healing sounds a little hokey, but the difference in the energy field created by the device can be verified two ways: by comparing the temperature or the electroscopic discharge rate inside the box versus outside of it. Reich started with plants, noting that they grew much faster. Then he introduced patients who would sit inside for 20 to 30 minutes, while ambient orgone energy was assimilated through the skin and lungs. Reich observed under a microscope that red blood cells would begin to emit a blue glow at their fringe. The result was remarkable. Patients reported a warmth, relaxation, and sometimes a prickliness. The skin would flush and sweat with the feel of a soft glow. Reich noted that a multitude of illnesses healed more quickly or were even healed entirely as a result of time spent in the accumulator. These conditions included digestive issues, injuries, bug stings, burns, muscle or joint aches, impotence, and even more challenging conditions like cancer. Another benefit Reich noted was the change of attitude. His patients expressed more joy, happiness, and positivity following a treatment. The accumulator appeared to release stuck negative emotions and to replace them with positive ones. He did find one danger, however. Using an orgone accumulator near sources of DOR, such as nuclear power plants, radio towers, or the like, has the potential of harming anyone receiving treatment inside of it. So geographical location is an important factor to consider. But over his years of research, hundreds of people were treated for illnesses with his orgone accumulator. Overall improvement in their emotional well-being and body function was astonishingly consistent. Sadly, Reich's celebration was short-lived. In the 50s, he was first singled out by the U.S. government for being a communist. Though it was eventually determined in 1957 he was not guilty of subversive activity. Just before he was about to go public with his research and new product, however, the FDA suddenly stepped in, seizing all of his product and convicting him of fraud. Wilhelm Reich was thrown in prison, and the FDA not only confiscated his equipment, they completely destroyed it. Just days before he was up for parole from prison, Reich died of heart failure. But there was suspicion that his death may have been foul play. Though it was published Reich was a fraud, those who knew him argue otherwise. It was known, for example, that he gave public demonstrations to prove the effectiveness of his technology. And he did not request payment when treating patients in the accumulator. Many believed he was maligned not because his technology was phony, but because it was incredibly effective, and it opened doors to health that threatened the existing medical industry. Fast forward to 1986. Scientists at the University of Marburg in Germany conducted a blind study to test the credibility of the Orgone accumulator, and they concluded the Orgone energy accumulator device conceived by Reich may have a significant effect on the human organism. Reich had left instructions that his unpublished papers be stored and sealed away for 50 years after his death. In 2007, they were unsealed, and in 2015, Harvard University Press published that the dominant narrative of Reich as a pseudoscientist is incorrect, that his true story is much more complex and interesting. Reich's concept of life energy evolved when Russian scientist Nikolai Kozyrev proved that unseen energies are all around us. And his work led to torsion field science and quantum physics. Since then, thousands of PhD-level researchers spanning multiple generations have continued Kozyrev and Reich's pioneering work, slowly forcing mainstream Western science to finally officially recognize the concept of a universal unseen energy medium. They call dark matter vacuum flux or zero-point energy, depending on who you ask. These are all essentially describing what Reich called Orgone. In recent years, the layering concept for Orgone was reinvented in small resin objects which would contain both materials, organic and inorganic. It was also discovered that if you add a crystal into the resin of these devices, the stability of the quartz transmutes the negative charge into a positive one. Also, the resin shrinks during the curing process, permanently squeezing the quartz crystal inside, which creates a piezoelectric effect, and this electrically polarizes the quartz, making the orgonite even more effective. It becomes a self-driven, continuously operating, highly efficient negative to positive energy transmutation factory. When orgonite is within range of any source of negative energy, emotional, physical, or chemical, it's said it will efficiently and continuously transform it into positive energy, and the harmful energy is defenseless against the effect. Now, a growing number of people are using it to combat the electromagnetic frequencies being emitted 24/7 from cell towers, cell phones, Wi-Fi, and smart grids, just to name a few. The exponential increase of EMFs are said to blanket our landscape like electromagnetic smog. This change in the biological frequency of the Earth over the last 20 years is said to affect us all on a cellular level, though we may not be aware of the additional stress until we're far away from it and surrounded only by Mother Earth and Orgone. There's even an internet-led movement called the Orgonite Gifting Movement, where people bury Orgonite devices near cell phone towers to mitigate harmful effects. Orgonite devices are most frequently used for the effects of electronic pollution, stress, depression, headache, insomnia, and brain fog. Like the accumulator, they are said to turn negative energy into positive energy, to purify the atmosphere, to detoxify water, to help plants grow better, repel pests, to disarm and repel predators, and to inspire a pleasant demeanor and a balanced, happier mood, to remedy insomnia and nightmares, and best of all, to awaken your innate psychic senses. We can't tell you for sure whether or not orgone therapy or orgonite are effective. Because energy medicine is not clearly measurable, most doctors dismiss it as hogwash. But it's clear, as long as you're away from negative energy sources, there is certainly no harm done in trying them out. Skeptics may say these stories are just the result of the placebo effect. Others may see orgone as the thread of connection with the divine. It is curious that a healing technology would be so maliciously discredited, which at its best is miraculous, and at its worst, completely harmless. Maybe Wilhelm Reich was crazy. Or maybe this highly educated doctor simply posed a threat to the institutions he detested in Western medicine. In the end, this is what he said. Whatever you have done to me or will do to me in the future, whether you glorify me as a genius or put me in a mental institution, whether you adore me as your savior or hang me as a spy, sooner or later, necessity will force you to comprehend that I have discovered the laws of the living. I have disclosed to you the infinitely vast field of the living in you, of your cosmic nature. That is my great reward. Thank you for watching. Please hit like if you enjoyed this video. We hope you'll subscribe, and if you'd like to be notified of future releases, just hit the bell button.